All time learning and anytime learning. This is the necessity what we are now in. Then, sir, there are lots of social political questions regarding online learning. It will lead to digital divide between the privileged and unprivileged people, and it will affect the psychomotor domain of the students, and it will affect the psychological and emotional aspects. There are some concerns raised all over the world about online learning, about machine learning and all these things. Before entering to the practical issues, I am just raising this question: how a country like India can go ahead with online learning with all the disparities we have?
Thank you so much. As I said, you have framed very interesting and meaningful questions. Online learning, I think the biggest problem would be in the school sector. University and colleges online learning, kids and students can still somehow manage. I'm using the word somehow. But there'll be more problems for schools, including primary and elementary schools. You can't ask a 4-year-old student to stick to your laptop or stick to your smartphone and take lessons. These are practical problems. There is a lack of preparedness. You just cannot shift suddenly from classroom to online. With lack of preparedness at both levels, at the teacher level and at the student level. Online, as I said earlier, is not and will never be a substitute for relation building and the alchemy that happens in a classroom. A teacher-student relationship can never be built. And every student has some good memories, some bad memories of a good teacher and a bad teacher. And all this will be history if you stay with only online learning. A good memory allows me to emulate, allows me to model my best teacher. How was he or she? She taught me, I can't forget what she told me. This is something which you can never achieve. There's also a problem, and as you rightly said, digital divide. There is how many of the students and the parents who send their kids to schools, particularly those who send to the government schools or the municipal schools or the village schools, how many of them can afford a smartphone, smart pad, because of economic reasons? They just cannot. How many places in the country, although we are a very east-heavy country, how many of us, and what all places can say that we have a 24/7 internet? Yesterday, I was watching a hard talk interview and BBC's, and I was surprised to know that even today, in the certain parts of the country, we only have 2G network. The world is moving to 5G. India is almost completely on 4G, and still a large proportion of India only gets 2G network connectivity. And then you are talking about online learning. You are then talking about online learning obviously means somebody has to help the children, help the school students. As I said, there is a difference between school students and college and university students. The school students need to be helped by somebody at home. Can the father and mother, can they skip their job and be with the student to help the student learn or grab what the teacher is trying to say online? Will he or she sacrifice his or her job for the sake of teaching? How many can actually do it? One day you can do it, 1 week you can do it, but you can't do it every day. So these are problems. There's also a problem about designing the online courses. You can't have online courses designed very quickly in a haste. Virtual solution education requires a new style of teaching. Many of us are not used to it. At university level, again, let me come back to the university level. There's not a big problem. There is a problem there also, but then the question is how many courses can be taught. We have been giving, most universities in the country have distance mode of education. And we all know distance mode is more like a stepmotherly treatment, more like a caste system. But online learning and distance mode, maybe they function both through the same parameters, but they are very different. More, but what about those in the we have about 1,000+ universities. Not every university, and that too those who are in the villages and fossil towns and others, where even classes are not held. So what about those who are economically poor and compare them with well off? Those who go to the public schools. And even in public schools, there is a 20% of the public school students seats are reserved for kids who come from a lower economic background under the right to education law that exists in our country. So what will these 20% do? So within the public school also there will be a divide, and outside of the public school there will be a divide between, and this is a big technological divide. And don't forget, India still lives in its villages. So we will be creating a new divide which will be very different from the caste system that we already have in our country. And we already know the problems of the caste system. So we will be now creating a digital caste. And that is something the politicians and the government of the day, not only in central government but also state government, will have to keep this in mind. How do we empower the economically weak section? Digitally empower. Digital empowerment is a new term I'm using. Nobody perhaps has used it. You can do, which means how do we provide enough technology to them, enough infrastructure to them, so that they can cope with the knowledge, with the education that's being imparted. In fact, today nobody has done any such study in India. So there would be a requirement to first study what are the problems, and I'm sure institutions like the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. You have raised a very important questions about emotional and psychological problems. There are emotional and psychological problems of staying indoors. 3 months of lockdown has created such issues. And now imagine if you are allowed to go to school, but you cannot imbibe what is being taught. What kind of psychological problem and what kind of tendencies it will create? These are all open questions right now. I don't think we even have tried to answer these questions. We are all trying to somehow cope with the sudden rush and hastily do whatever we can do as more like as a reaction than as a educated, well worked out scheme of things. Thank you.